This video will help you understand about building balanced meals. This is a really good baseline for making sure you've got good quality nutrition going in the door, you've got good routines and habits that you're working on, and giving you a little bit more understanding about the basics of nutrition. Now, before we get into actually building meals, we need to know about macronutrients. These are the building blocks of all of our food. Every single food we eat will have the macronutrients in it. There are three major macronutrients: protein, carbohydrate, and fat, and each of them play a really important role to nourish us. Foods also contain micronutrients like vitamins and minerals that are very important for our health and well-being as well. So it's important to know that the point of nutrition is getting in these macronutrients and these micronutrients to nourish our bodies. A basic balanced meal consists of a source of protein, carbohydrate, fat, and some micronutrients. So we'll go through each one just so you know how to choose really high quality sources for most of your meals. So you're getting those foundations in, and also have lots of variety so you know how to build a balanced meal no matter what or where you are. Now, how do you know if something is high quality and it's a high quality source of the macronutrients? Generally, you can use these guidelines. Higher quality foods are either minimally processed or quite close to their natural state, so they haven't been through many processes in a factory to get to you. They're also high in the micronutrients. There's lots of vitamins and minerals in them. They're in season, local, or organic if possible. Of course, this isn't always going to be the case, but that is going to give you a higher quality source of food as opposed to a lower quality source. If we get more food into our diet that is high quality, it's going to give us the macro and micronutrient needs we need to help our bodies feel and look great, plus give you that health and vitality that you should be getting from your food. You notice I'm not saying good or bad foods, I'm saying high quality foods or lower quality foods. We don't want to demonize foods so that we get a negative approach to them. The only bad foods are ones that you might be allergic or intolerant to for you, so make sure you're not eating those, obviously, though that will be not a good idea. We just want to choose foods that are serving our goals more or less. If you allow some flexibility in your nutrition, you're going to be able to remain more consistent and stick to it for longer, which of course will help you get better results. Your nutrition also doesn't have to be perfect to be really healthy. You can include some treats, meals out here and there, and still achieve your goals. And also, you don't have to eat the highest quality food all the time. You can still eat foods that are lower on the spectrum in quality, like more processed, and still feel really healthy and happy. So we want to just try and be a little bit more aware of what is high quality food, what's the spectrum of processed to not processed, and what's lower quality food, and how can we choose really good options. So let's start with protein. Protein is often the most under-eaten macronutrient. So protein is important because it gives us amino acids, and these are the building blocks for our body. It helps us with the muscle and tissue growth and repair, so not just when you're breaking down the muscle in the gym, building it back up again, but also for injuries and general cell turnover of your whole body, which includes your skin and all of your tissues in your body. It also helps keep us fuller for longer. So every time we eat protein, our body actually uses a lot of energy to digest that, which is great, and also helps keep your satiety and fullness levels up for longer. We want to have approximately a palm-sized portion or about a quarter of your plate in the most basic way if you want to add a source of protein. Now, of course, this will be if it is meat or something along those lines. If you're having other sort portions, it might be a little bit different, but we want to have some protein at each of your meal. If you're eventually going to get into tracking your intake, which we can talk about in another video, we want it to be about 25 to 30% of your daily calorie intake to be protein. This is actually higher than the recommended daily intake because when you're training or you have extra need for protein, it's important to make sure you've got enough going in the door for your repair. Here are some ideas of example foods that you can choose. So high quality, the least processed options you might be able to choose. Lean cuts of meat, so turkey, chicken breast, lean beef or pork cuts, under 5% mince or game meats. They're all very, very lean, so they have minimal fat and very, very high amounts of protein. Plus, of course, they are not too processed. Fattier cuts of meat, also good options, maybe less often than the leaner cuts if possible, because of the fact that you have to be aware of the fat content. So steak, pork, lamb, chicken thigh, or duck are all fattier cuts of meat. Egg whites are very high in protein, so if you pack in the egg whites, you're going to get lots and lots of protein. Whole eggs have a bit of fat in the yolk. White fish like basa or barramundi are great options. Oily fish like salmon or tuna, also good options. Similar deal to the fattier cuts of meat though. they have fat in them, although this is usually very, very good quality fat of omega-3s that we are recommended for our health of our body and our blood vessels, plus also our joints. Now, shellfish is also a good option, but I am unfortunately allergic to shellfish, so this is not on my list. So if you're someone who enjoys prawns, crab, squid, or any other shellfish, go for it. They will be a really good source of protein as well. And then legumes are great for vegetarians because they are high in protein, but they also have a source of carbohydrate in them as well. So they're a high fiber source of carbohydrate. So it's just important to know that not every food will be perfectly in one category or the other sometimes, and that's okay. You just have to be aware of what foods have some protein, what foods have some carb, and what foods have some fat. Slightly more processed or medium quality, I'm calling it, which is still totally fine to have every day options. You can have canned tuna or salmon, you can have dry jerky or biltong, dairy, so low fat Greek yogurt is a really good source of protein, or normal Greek yogurt is also a good source of protein, but it will have more fat in it too, and a little bit of carb. Cottage cheese is really high in protein. Whole milk has a bit of carb and fat. And also, I've added the whey protein, casein protein, plant-based protein powder in there as well, because although it is quite processed, it is a very easy and convenient source of protein you can add to a meal, like a shake or a smoothie or yogurt or oats, and to really boost up the protein in your day and hit your serving sizes. And then tofu, tempeh, or seitan are very good vegetarian sources. Again, a little bit more processed, but still an amazing source of protein. Now, what is low quality protein options? If you're going for the deli meats like your salamis or any of those highly processed meats, you're probably not going to be the best, most high quality source, and also very, very high in fat. Same deal with hot dogs and sausages, and also protein bars, protein chips, and snacks, although they are marketed very well, like a very high protein snack. They are probably to be had less often during the week just for the fact that they are so processed and often have a lot of additives in there as well, not just protein. So just be aware of that. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of a spectrum idea of what really high quality options of protein are, medium quality, but again, you can have every day, and then some lower quality ones that you want to have less often. So I've got a recommendation there of under 2 to 3 times a week. This is just a guideline and a recommendation. The next macronutrient we're going to talk about is carbohydrate. So carbs are very important for the energy of your whole body, and especially your brain. Your brain runs on glucose, which is the carbohydrate. Now, it is fuel for muscle contraction in the gym too, so you can get really good muscle contraction when you've got enough carbohydrates. Lots of carbs also have fiber for your digestive health, and it's also what's called protein sparing. So it means if you have enough carbohydrate come in, your body is not going to start breaking down protein and muscle tissue for energy, which can happen if you follow a low carb diet for a very long period of time. So that's actually important to know. Now, a portion is approximately a half cupped hand size or a quarter of your plate, or a recommended serving size, and aim for 45 to 55% of your daily calorie intake to be carbohydrate. The more active you are, so the more high energy, like high endurance sports or higher amount of lifting you do, the more carbohydrate you will probably need in your diet, because it means you need more energy for that sport. So on average, this is just a moderately active person. About 45 to 55% would be a good amount. High quality carbohydrate sources. Now, the highest quality would be either starchy vegetables or whole fruits. Starchy vegetables are things like sweet potatoes, normal potato gets demonized a bit, but by itself, just baked or cooked, it's a fabulous source of fiber and carbohydrate. Pumpkin, squash, or parsnip, they're all very great sources of carbohydrate. Then whole fruits, so things like apples, berries, oranges, bananas, anything that's a fruit is also a great carbohydrate source. Whole grains like rice, white rice and brown rice tend to be digested quite well. Quinoa, oats, or buckwheat, they're all good sources of carbohydrate. Legumes, like we've already mentioned, they're a source of protein and carbohydrate. And then your vegetables have carbohydrate in them as well. Veggies do have their own section in this guideline because they are so important to prioritize, but they do have carbohydrate in them. Medium quality, so more processed, that again you can have throughout the week just fine, but just be aware that they're more processed. Things like low sugar, whole grain muesli bars and granola, whole grain bread, pastas, crackers, couscous or cereals, air popped popcorn, rice or corn cakes, rice crackers, canned fruits that are in water or dried fruit. So they're all just a little bit more processed, but still give you a good source of carbohydrate. And then lower quality processed carbohydrate. So these are foods that can be quite easy to overeat. So it's important to reduce them down because they are often very low in fiber, high in sugar. And so your body will digest them very quickly, but then you can also eat quite a lot of them without feeling that full. So we want to try and reduce down to under 2 to 3 times a week white breads or pastas that are white and processed, very high sugary cereals, pastries and donuts. Again, these are also high in fat as well. Lollies, soft drinks, straight up juices and sugary drinks because they are pretty much just straight sugar. And then processed snacks. So things like your chips and crackers that are, again, low fiber and highly processed. They will be very, very easy to overeat, and it's good to reduce them down just to a snack, and hopefully an intentional snack. So something you actually want to eat and enjoy, not just convenience snacking, which can be very, very hard habit to break. Then we're going to talk about fat. So fat is a macronutrient that is very good for giving us slow burning energy. So just when you're walking around during the day, you're actually burning fat in your body. It's also good for your hormonal health, your skin, hair, and nail health, and also absorbing nutrients, vitamins and minerals absorb very well when you're having some fat in your diet. So it's important to still have fat. Now, it is a little bit more calorie dense than protein and carb. So fat actually has 9 calories per gram, whereas protein and carb have 4 calories per gram. We're not really up to that yet with discussion of how many calories are in each gram, which we might get to later. But it means that you just need a smaller serving size. So approximately a thumb-sized portion or an eighth of your plate is a good recommended serving size, and aiming for 30% of your daily intake to be from good fats. Now, fat sources, higher quality fat sources are low processed things like nuts. So almonds, walnuts, cashews, pecans are all good sources of fat. Some people think nuts are really high in protein, but unfortunately they're not. They're more high in fat. Seeds like chia seeds, flax seeds, hemp seeds, sunflower seeds, they're all very good as well. Olives and avocados have really good monounsaturated fats in them, which is good for our health. Coconut is also high in fat. It does have more saturated fat though, so you might want to have that slightly less often. There is a bit of debate on whether saturated fat is as bad as it used to be, but we'll leave that one for later. Nut butters, obviously, are just ground up versions of nuts. Oily fish, we already mentioned, are really good sources of fat as well as protein. Same as fattier cuts of meat. Again, same note on the saturated fat front, and then egg yolks. If you have unrefined oils like olive oil, then that is also a good source of fat, but it's more processed and it's easier to have a lot of it because it is pretty much straight fat. So you only want to have small amounts, like a teaspoon at a time, rather than the thumb-sized portion. That would be more related to the higher quality section because there is more fiber in those foods. You can also have treats like dark chocolate. 70% cocoa or higher is a good option because it has cocoa butter in it. And whole fat dairy is also a good source of fat. But again, it is just depending on what is a really high quality fat. We're going to try and make sure that there's only a small amount at the main meals or a little bit of oil because it can add up really quickly. Lower quality fats are things like hydrogenated oils like canola, vegetable, and margarine oils are actually not so great for us. They have a lot of polyunsaturated fats, which have been linked to a few health problems. So we would try and reduce those. Plus also those processed meats, processed snack foods that are very, very high in fat. So just try and think, if I can eat more of the foods on the left more often, less of the foods on the right. Now, vegetables, I've given them their own section, although technically they do fit into the carbohydrate category as well, because they are so important to prioritize. They are packed full of vitamins, minerals, fiber, which can all help our vitality and our energy levels, our digestion, and also nourishing our health and well-being. Vegetables are not something to be left out. We want approximately a fist-sized portion, maybe a quarter to a half of your plate. So a quarter would be more dense vegetables that have been cooked, and a half would be a salad or a bigger amount of vegetables on your plate at each meal. So you don't need to limit your vegetable intake unless the high amount of fiber affects your digestion, which is probably more out of the scope of this video. But sometimes people find they might react a little bit to eating too much fiber at a time, so build that up slowly. but if we cannot reduce vegetables, that is amazing to get all the nourishment in. A good way to make sure you're getting enough veggies in is to think of eating the rainbow each week. So getting a good diversity of the micronutrients will happen if you're eating lots of different coloured fruits and veggies. I've added fruits in there as well because they're really high in micronutrients. So if you can have a source of each colour throughout the week, you'll be getting a huge diversity. So think of red, orange, yellow, green, purple, and white. And here are some examples that you can choose. So green, you might want to choose spinach, broccoli, asparagus, zucchini, celery, cucumber, lettuce, Brussels sprouts, green beans. There's heaps in the green section. They'll be really great for your nourishment. Red, things like tomatoes, capsicum, beets, or radish. Orange, think of carrot, pumpkin, squash. Purple, eggplant, red cabbage, red onion. And white is things like onion, garlic, mushrooms, or cauliflower. If you can pack in lots of the different colours, you're going to get so much nourishment out of your vegetables. And there's not really many other lower quality sources. If you have dried vegetables, they're a little bit more processed, and obviously the water has been taken out of them, so there will be a little bit more carbohydrate in those. And if they are fried vegetables, obviously they're covered in fat, so we want to reduce that as a treat. Or vegetable chips, which some people might think are quite healthy, they're usually fried in or cooked in oil as well. So just be aware of that. But pack in those veggies and make sure there's heaps at each of your main meals, and you'll be off to a really good start. Now, this is just a guideline. It's very, very basic, but it's going to give you a good understanding of nutrition. You probably have some more specific needs. So these are basic guidelines, and I'll give you a few more examples on the next few slides. But if you do want a more personalised approach, seek coaching. We'll cover recommendations that will suit your specific lifestyle and also your specific needs and wants with certain foods, because some people have lots of food preferences or styles of eating. If you have any specific conditions, illnesses, or specific needs, please go seek out a dietitian. They will be able to help you on a much deeper level and give you much more specific recommendations. And always discuss with your healthcare provider about your personal situation. I want to make sure that the power is in your hands when it comes to nutrition. We don't want to tell you exactly what to eat. You need to have the education and awareness around food to make really good choices and then improve your education from there. Now, from everything we talked about today, I've built a handy balanced meal builder that you can use and give you some examples of meals and recipes that might suit you. So here I've just done a little bit of a overview, so you can see the portion size at the top there on average, and then underneath it, examples of fat, foods of fat and protein, protein and carbs, and then vegetables. So if you have foods at your meal that have a combination of fat and protein, you're going to just have a half serving of each rather than the full serving, and then you should be able to have a little bit more awareness of how that food is adding up on your plate. As a basic overview, think of on your plate, do you have a serving of protein, so about a palm size or a quarter of your plate? Do you have a serving of carbohydrate, so half a cupped hand and a quarter of your plate? A serving of fat, which is about a thumb or an eighth of your plate. I need to change that. And a serving of micronutrients, which is either a fist of veggies or a quarter to a half of your plate. You want to make sure that you're getting lots of micronutrients in. Balanced meal ideas. So here is an example here. We've got a chicken, rice, salad, and dressing meal. So the protein is going to be 150 grams of chicken there, which is about the palm of chicken. The carb is 150 grams of rice, which is about half a cupped hand of rice. The micronutrients is a salad with the lettuce, tomato, and cucumber. And the fat is in the olive oil and vinaigrette dressing that is going to be poured on top of the meal. But another option could be this smoothie. So this berry and banana protein smoothie. For the protein, this person has put in protein powder as a serve. There is banana and strawberries, which is fruit, for the carbohydrate, but also there's micronutrients in banana and strawberries as well to get in that nourishment. And the fat, I've added coconut yogurt to this just to add a bit of fat. This example is steak, potato, and salad. So the protein would be in the steak. The carb is the potatoes. For fat, there is olive oil to cook steak, but it's also got a little bit of fat on it as well. And then for micronutrients, we've got the salad with tomato, onion, and lettuce. So hopefully that gives you a few visual ideas of balanced meals. And here are just some list ideas that you might want to have a little look at in your own time, just to see if something would suit you for options and meals that would work. So here I've just split up some breakfast ideas that you might want to choose. Like a balanced meal for breakfast could be 2 eggs on toast with some tomato, mushroom, and spinach. You've got protein in the egg whites, fat in the egg yolks. The toast, if it's a whole grain toast, is going to be a really good option of carbohydrate. And then there's lots of veggies there with the tomato, mushroom, and spinach. And if you look down the list, most of them are variations on that, like with the eggs. Eggs are obviously a very easy breakfast option. For savoury, for sweet, you might want to use a Greek yogurt, which is high in protein, especially the lower fat one. You add some berries in there for micronutrients and carbs, and also some low sugar granola with high fiber oats and some nuts. Then you're going to tick the box with fat in the nuts, and the oats are going to give you some high fiber carbohydrate as well. Or you might have some oats with protein powder, banana and peanut butter mixed together like an overnight oats situation. Again, it's going to give you carbs with the oats, protein in the protein powder. The banana is going to give you carbs and micronutrients, and the peanut butter is going to be fat. There's a few other options down there that might suit you: overnight oats, chia pudding, or protein pancakes. And really quick options if you're low on time, things like hard-boiled eggs on toast, quick, easy, although it might not be ticking every single box, you're still going to get at least protein, carbs, and fat. You might have that Greek yogurt with berries, cottage cheese, fruit, and some walnuts, a berry smoothie, a chocolate banana smoothie, or a green smoothie. Quick options to give you balanced meals. Now I've got lots of ideas there for lunch, and then I've also got lots of ideas here for dinner. So if you want to pause and screenshot, you might have a little bit more time to read, but there's just lots of ideas there that might suit you. And also snacks. So snacks don't have to be perfectly balanced because they're often just filling the gap. But things like fruit and nuts, some cottage cheese and fruit, hummus and veggie sticks, popcorn, some dry beef, muesli bars, tuna, hard-boiled eggs and crackers, egg muffins, protein shakes, or some roast chickpeas. There might be some good little fillers that are healthy and will stop you from going for the convenient sources like chocolate bars or chips, which are the most common things that people go for when they're a bit hungry in the afternoon. If we're looking at an average balanced day, so we've been looking at balanced meals, a balanced day means each food option has protein, carb, fat, and some micronutrients. So this day here is oats, protein powder, banana, and almonds for breakfast. Had a nice chicken, rice, and veggie lunch that was meal prepped. A muesli bar and an apple as a snack. Salmon, veggies, and corn for dinner, and then some dark chocolate as a snack. And a balanced week would be that 80% whole foods and 20% soul foods, or intentional treats that you actually want. So this person had balanced breakfast planned for Monday to Saturday, and then meal prep for the week for lunch, had balanced dinners and whole food snacks ready. So it's about 80% of the week. Then also had a little chocolate treat at night, an ice cream on the weekend, a glass of wine with pizza on a Friday night, and a brunch out on the weekend, which actually could probably still be a balanced meal because it was like eggs, apple, and toast or something like that. It's up to you to decide whether it's a balanced meal or not. That would be a nice balanced week, getting lots of nourishment in, but also allowing some room for intentional treats and foods that they truly enjoy, so they're giving themselves some flexibility. It's going to be a really good basis for a whole food balanced diet and also give you lots of nourishment. So hopefully that gives you a little bit more of an idea of how the balanced meals fit into everything, and also give you some brainstorming or ideas that you might be able to use to help you to look at your nutrition and see what little tweaks you can make. I've just got a few other notes. So water and hydration is important to talk about as well. So when we're eating good quality food, we also need to be hydrating ourselves. Now, there is no generalized guideline out there for water based on age or height or weight or anything like that. So we want to just make sure we're drinking enough fluid to not get thirsty, and preferably you don't want to be getting thirsty. So drinking enough water to stay hydrated. A good rule of thumb is 2 liters of water plus a liter extra when exercising, especially if you're sweating. So make sure you bring your water bottle with you everywhere and drink throughout the day. If it is very, very hot or you sweat a lot, it's also a good idea to replenish with electrolytes. So these are powders you can add to water that contain some potassium, sodium, magnesium, chlorine, and chloride, and calcium. That's going to help make sure that you're nourishing your body with the electrolytes you lose through sweat as well. And really aim to get most of your fluid from plain water. If you're someone who drinks a lot of soft drinks, juices, and energy drinks, they're going to increase the sugar that you're having on a daily basis. And we want to try and make sure that your fluid and hydration is coming from water as much as possible. Of course, they're fine as a treat every now and then, but make sure you're just having a little look and seeing that you're not drinking too many of them every day. And coffee and tea also can add to your fluid intake, but they are stimulants and have caffeine that may affect you, make you a little bit jittery. And also, they can be diuretics, so flushing water out of your system. So try to make sure you're drinking lots and lots of water and not having too many cups of tea and coffee. I think maybe 1 to 2 cups of coffee and 1 to 2 cups of tea a day is fine. But if you're drinking like 5 cups, that's probably going to be a bit of an excess of caffeine that's going into your system, and also the diuretic effect of that as well. And also try to reduce alcohol as much as possible because it does not have any nutritional benefit to you, only a social benefit if that is something you enjoy. Alcohol actually is a fourth macronutrient that just has no nourishment value, so it is 7 calories per gram. So we want to try and reduce alcohol because it can add a lot of calories to your day with no actual additional benefit. So that's just something to be really aware of, is make sure you're hydrating plenty with plenty of water. Now, something I always get asked about is supplements as well. Supplements are for supplementation in your diet. They're not necessary. However, there are common supplements that may aid in increasing the vitamins and minerals that you might be lacking. But please go and seek help from a healthcare professional to get these recommendations, or a naturopath or somebody who can give you some solid guidelines if you believe you do have a deficiency that might need to be supplemented. Be very aware of supplements claiming to help you lose fat or other really too good to be true claims. They're often just for marketing and they won't have much of a big difference to your overall day. Whole foods are going to be the best source of your macronutrients and your micronutrients, so make sure you prioritize those first. And supplements, leave them as a supplement. So here are your action steps from today. So hopefully you've got more of an awareness of what a balanced meal is, how to build one, and how to get enough good quality, high quality food into your day. So you want to aim to get a routine happening with your nutrition with at least 3 balanced meals per day. Get familiar with which foods at your meals are protein, carbohydrate, fat, and contain micronutrients, so fruit or veggies. And it'll give you a lot more understanding of your nutrition. If you want to start planning your meals, this is going to help you have much more awareness about your food. You can write them down and start to track to give you a bit of an awareness. I will go into more detail in another video if you're wanting to learn more about the quantity of your food to eat to hit your goals. But this will be a really good baseline. Remember, nutrition habits take time to change. Please don't beat yourself up if you're not perfect, because perfection doesn't exist. But these guidelines with the 80 and the 20 should help you massively to get good quality nutrition habits happening and understand balanced meals.